Hello everyone, I'd like to welcome you to this video titled Real World Problems with Decimals. And you can see the goal for this video is to solve real world problems involving decimals. Now I'd like you to get out your math journal, pencil, and also open up your math books at page 143. So we're going to take a look at a few different types of real world problems involving decimals. So first of all, we're going to take a look at adding and subtracting decimals to solve real world problems. And we'll go through a problem with each section here together. So let's turn your books to page 144. Now let's go ahead and take a look at this problem on page 144. It says on the first day of camp, Lewis drank 3 and 155 thousandths liters of water. On the same day, Mark drank 2 and 6,500 liters of water. So we have question A, how many liters of water did Lewis and Mary, not Mark, drink in all? So whenever you see that word in all, that's a pretty good sign that it's going to be addition. Now we need to think about what we're adding here. So we're going to add how many liters did they both drink. So we're just going to simply add the two amounts that they drank. So let's write this in here with me. We're going to add those together. Why? Because we have the word and all. That means we're adding things, adding numbers there. Now the next part we'll take a look at is writing down 2 and 6,500ths. So we're going to add those two together, and with word problems I do not mind if you use a calculator at all. You can calculate these two together, and we have 5 and 805 thousandths of liters that they drank in all. So we'll just write Lewis and Mary drank 5 and 805 thousandths liters in all. Now, letter B, we see what was the difference between the amounts of water Lewis and Mary drank. Now, whenever you see the word difference, that's going to mean subtraction there. Okay, so whenever you're finding the difference, you're going to subtract these two amounts. So 3 and 155 thousandths minus 2 and 6,500ths. And with that, you'll get 505 thousandths of a liter. So we can see the difference. The amounts of water Lewis and Mary drank was 505 thousandths of a liter. So write that in. So again, when you're taking a look at a problem like this, in all will mean addition. Difference is going to mean subtraction. So those are some key words that you can look at to figure out what operation you'll use. So now let's flip over to page 145. We're going to take a look at multiplying decimals to solve real world problems. So we looked at adding and subtracting decimals. Now we're going to look at multiplying decimals. So on page 145, we can see that the cost of carpeting a square yard is $8.60. How much does it cost to carpet 9 7/10 of a yard? So whenever you're taking a look at how much one item costs, okay, so we can see that 1 square yard is $8.60, and then figuring out how many total yards that represents. That means you're going to multiply. What are you going to multiply? You're going to multiply the total amount that you would like to carpet by how much it is per square yard, $8.60. So we take 9 7/10 times $8.60, and that's going to give us $83.42. So let's write that in there. So what we can see is that it costs, again, $83.42. All right, so just a couple things when we're taking a look at this problem here. We can see that 8 7/10 times $8.60, that's actually going to be the same as $8.06, okay, of a cent. Or you can see, if we even taken money out of it here, we can see that 8 and 60/100ths is the same thing as 8 6/10. Now let's take a look at page 146. It says practice dividing decimals to solve real world problems. So page 146, that question says a roll of cloth 12 meters long is cut into small pieces of the same size. Each piece is 75 hundredths meters long, of a meter long. How many small pieces of cloth can be cut from the 12-meter roll? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take that 12 meters, and we know its division. Why do we know its division? Because this is cut into small pieces. We know how long each piece is, and they're asking us how many small pieces of cloth can be cut from that 12-meter roll. So in other words, how many 75 hundredths can go into 12? If it were just to say that there's a roll of cloth 12 meters long, you take 75 hundredths of a meter off of it, how much is left? That would be subtraction. But since they're being cut into small pieces, and you got to figure out how many pieces are that can be cut, that means it's going to be a division problem. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take 12 and we're going to divide this by 75 hundredths. And that's going to equal 16. Now it is important whenever you're doing these types of problems that you divide the correct way. Okay, so we need to make sure the 12 meters is divided by 75 hundredths versus the 75 hundredths divided by 12 meters. Okay, because if you have 75 hundredths divided by 12 meters, that's going to give you 625 10,000ths of a piece, which does not make sense. So it's important that your problems make sense here. So it's going to be 16 small pieces there. Now let's take a look at number 2. We'll do this together. It says Rebecca buys 2 24 hundredths pounds of sliced ham to make sandwiches. She uses 16 hundredths of a pound for a sandwich. How many sandwiches can Rebecca make? Okay, so what we have here, we need to think about if it's a division problem or not. So we have 2 24 hundredths pounds of sliced ham to make sandwiches, and we know that she uses 16 hundredths of a pound for a sandwich, and then we got to figure out how many sandwiches can she make. All right, so we need to figure out how many times 16 hundredths goes into 2 24 hundredths. So we'll take the 2 24 hundredths. It's going to tell us how many sandwiches can be made, divided by 16 hundredths. Why 16 hundredths? Because that's how much pound 16 hundredths of a pound is in each sandwich, and that's going to equal 14 sandwiches. So we know Rebecca can make 14 sandwiches. So this concludes the video on lesson 3.6, which is dividing real world problems using decimals. We looked at dividing, adding and subtracting, and multiplying decimals in real world problems. If you have any questions about this concept, please come and see me.